ref. That's he got the ball. Good morning, Tottenham fans all around the world, and welcome back to the Irish Hotspur with your boy Dave, Drew, and Jose. I think Donovan and Dermo will be joining at some point for the big game today against Bournemouth down at N17. Look, I know everyone's a bit broken, a bit hurt, a bit disappointed. You know, I'm mentally drained right now with Tottenham, especially off the back of Thursday night. But the reality is, you know, we got 11 games left. We've got to try and claw ourselves up that table, and we need to try and build momentum today heading into Thursday night. So the fact that we're all here, hopefully we can all get behind the team once again and try and push us on. At some point, our luck has to change. That's what I'm going with now. But look, quickly, we'll welcome some people in and we'll just crack straight into it. Big up, Just a Harmless Potato. Great to see you. Sean Johnston, great to see you as well. I agree with you. I think all three need to be in there today. Big up, Drew. We've also got Jose in here. Ribsy, great to see you, my man from Down Under. Great to see you. Tartan Spurs says, broken, shattered, down and out, but we still here. Stay strong, chat, and big up, panel. Come on, you Spurs. We've got Mr. Measured, good morning from Down Under. Good to see you. Hopefully you're keeping well. Davey Hall, great to see you. Limpy Down Under, great to see you. Aussie, guys, big up, guys. Hopefully Scarlett gets a run today. Tell just isn't cutting it. Absolutely agree. Nick Carey, good to see you. Morning, boys, putting more interest in these shows than our games at the minute. Sad times. Come on, you Spurs. Look, I think everyone's a bit annoyed with Tottenham, you know, going into these games a bit defeated, a bit deflated and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, you know, I want our luck to change. Hopefully today is the day. Then we've also got Wembley once this morning. All I feel so sad right now about the literal corpse of our woeful club has turned into. The atmosphere today would prove that, sadly. Do you know what? I think today is an interesting one because I have heard a lot of Spurs fans say, you know, that they do want to go to this one because Iriola's there with Bournemouth. And, you know, maybe some of them are saying maybe it's an audition for him personally. Look, that's assuming Iriola wants to come to Tottenham, you know what I mean, as well, all of that. But, look, right now, I think many people are pissed off with the manner of the performance Thursday night. I think many people feel like Wembley, you know, we're a club that's dead inside at this moment in time. We're just hoping that today we can come out and see a response, my man. That's all we can hope for, you know. That's what we've been coming here every single game day hoping for, that your luck's going to change at the next game. So hopefully today is the day. Big up, Wembley. Good to see you. Big up, J-Mac. Great to see you. And Jerry Fox as well. Good to see you. But look, guys, we are just going to crack straight on into it. So let's get there. Drew, Tottenham failed to register a single shot on target in what was one of, well, I think they registered one at 88 minutes, but that was a cross-come shot. And it was one of our worst performances of the season, especially in such a crucial match. Given the frustrations after Thursday night's performance, how important is it for the team to stay united and bounce back quickly against Bournemouth today? Because for me, I'm of the opinion, Drew, we need to take a result today and build some momentum heading into this Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying for the last couple of weeks that as the players start coming back, like the most important thing for me was performances. So yeah, like Thursday was especially disheartening, really. But I mean, you know, I'm still here. I still get up every Saturday morning or Sunday morning or wherever it is to watch them. Yeah. I mean, I'm still wearing my Tottenham pants. In fact, you know what? Let's do this right. Let's get rid of this one.
I hope you're wearing trousers first of all before you.
I'm wearing trousers. Let's get the Spurs one on. But I'm proud of this. This is what I'm proud of, and the players should be too. You know, I think everybody here, man, woman, child, dog, would give their left or right leg to be in the position that some of these players are. So we need a performance. I need something out on that pitch that shows me that everybody's pulling in the right direction. I don't want toys out of prams. We got enough of that with the fans. So let's just.
Have you seen anything there, Drew, that gives you
hope?
Have I
seen anything, Dave?
You know, have you seen anything that still gives you hope that maybe there is still something inside that we can still pull in the right direction? Or do you feel like most fans, where it's sort of people feel like, you know, it doesn't really matter? I think at some stage people resigned to after that performance against AZ Alkmaar, we won't win the Europa League and that our season's more or less over.
Do you know what? If I were to think that way, Dave, I might as well just turn everything off now and go and paint something. You know, I've got some fences needs painting. I've got some stuff in the garden needs doing. We just had daylight savings. The weather's starting to warm up. Like, yeah, I could just forget the rest of this season. But I just like, you support your club through thick and thin, right? And do you know what? There are glimmers. I just think when you take the entire season as a whole, I think a lot of them feel disheartened, downtrodden, like they've been kicked about a little bit. I mean, honestly, people can call me out, people can say what they like. I don't see, and this, this is through this is the club's fault. I get it. I don't know, man. I can't bring myself to be anything other than supportive of this team. Like everyone else entitled to do whatever they want to do. I just can't. I've got to, Dave. I can't sit here and hope for a loss. I can't sit here and want them to do badly just so that we can have a change. Like, I want to win. I want to progress up the table. We're Tottenham Hotspur, and I just want to hold my head up for the remainder of the season. But that's going to take everybody. That's going to take all of them. It's going to take Ange to change some of his ways, to realise that, maybe he should get off this fucking prickly vibe that he's on at the moment. It needs our captains and our vice captains to actually grow a pair and man up a little bit. Like, this leadership group is a bunch of bollocks as far as I'm concerned. Like, I don't know. I'm delusional. There's something in that team. Those players are too good to a man for us to be in this position. Something's got to click. And I guess, that'll be the answer. If it doesn't, if we languish in this position for the rest of the season, and we go out on Thursday, then I guess those are the answers. But I'm hoping for some points on the board and a trip to Bilbao. So let's see what happens.
Well, look, that's why we're all still here. We're just hoping that we can see something today to sort of renew the spark, give us renewed belief. Because at the end of the day, we're Spurs fans. We're petty. All we need is the slightest thing just to get behind. And I think many people will be up for Thursday night. So hopefully we can see that today. Ozzy says, if players don't want to win for themselves or get into Champions League and the team don't want to play for Sonny and get him a trophy, I don't know what they want to play for. Do you know what, though, Ozzy? I don't give Son a free pass, to be quite frank with you.
Right.
He's the captain. He's the one that sets the standards within that squad. He's the one that sets the example for everyone to follow. And if he was disinterested as he was Thursday night, we wonder why everybody else around him is. And this is why I don't put everything again on Ange Postecoglou. Son, as captain, is also flanking his responsibilities, shirking his responsibilities for me. We could sit here and pretend that Son's had a great season and everyone's letting him down. Reality is he's let us down more than I would argue most players this season to a large degree. So I don't give Son a free pass whatsoever. He needs to up his game. He's letting, he could sit here and moan about the tactics and everything else, but he's also been a part of Jose, Nuno, Conte, and now Postecoglou. So it doesn't look good for Sonny, not being able to win consistently. And I don't give him a free pass as captain. For me, that's one of the most important jobs, within a football club, that captaincy. You're almost like the manager, but in terms of a player in the dressing room. If people are acting the fuck, it's up to you to get grips in them. If people ain't following, it's up to you to get grips with them. I don't think Son has that ability, to be quite frank. Big up Spurs TV. Hopefully you're keeping well, Blaine. Says big up Dave, Jose. Have to be positive today, but I have a looming feeling too. I take a draw today. Come on, you Spurs. Look, I think everyone is expecting today to be a difficult game, right? Bournemouth are absolutely flying high. Now, the form recently hasn't been the best, believe it or not. We're actually in better form in the Premier League coming into this game. Bournemouth are. But they're a dangerous team. They are going to look to press nice and high. I think they have 300 turnovers in the final thirds this season. I think, you got Justin Kluivert sitting there in the cam. He outside Mo Salah scored the most away goals in the Premier League. Probably have some menu off the left-hand side. That front line is very dangerous. We'll look to come and press us, and it's up to us to try and find a way through that. If we don't, it's going to become a long, long evening, just like it was against AZ Alkmaar. If we might just get a bit of joy today, Blaine. But it's going to be two teams that are going to press each other. Let's see how that pans out today. But big up, Blaine. Hopefully you're keeping well, and hopefully you enjoyed your trip to America and that. Big up, Blaine. Really appreciate the support, buddy. Jose, for me, I've been banging on about all season. I think there's a distinct lack of creativity, in this team. And, Thursday night, again, a lack of creativity, failing to hit the target in the 1-0 defeat to AZ Alkmaar. I feel that's lead to disappointment again today against Bournemouth. For me, ultimately, that's a lot of our games, well, like where we end up being disappointed, because we do tend to have a lot of possession, but we don't tend to create an awful lot off the back of it. And that's, for me, why we're disappointed a lot this season.
Right, I'm going to start by just saying Thursday night was another abject performance. I'm the oldest person on this panel, and I've been a long time suffering Spurs fan. I've seen us win things, and I've seen us being right poor. But on Thursday was another abject performances. I cannot count. I've lost count on now how many abject performances we've put in this season. And what didn't help, because I don't normally get affected by it, but what didn't help on Thursday night was looking at the presser that Sonny did and the presser that Ange did. The presser that Sonny did, you could have copied and pasted that presser and added it to umpteenth amount of times this season, because he came out with the same comment as we need to learn from this and move on. How many times have we heard Sonny say this? It doesn't inspire confidence when you hear that in a press conference. And then with Ange says, yeah, it just wasn't our day. The players just didn't twig and just didn't get grips of the game. How many times have we heard Ange say that? So there's something, somewhere along the lines, there is a disconnect. Now, what it is, we're not privy to it, and I don't know what the disconnect is, but I really do hope that the disconnected gets jointed and they meet together so we can start putting in better performances from now until the end of the season. I've said it before, Dave. You're asking me a question about us looking powder puff, and that, to me, the three players or the 5 players that we had play on Thursday evening are abysmal up front. It's as if they had never ever played with each other.
Yeah,
there was no cohesion between the front 3 and the 2 that replaced them. There was no cohesion at all. And in midfield, we had 3 midfielders, but there was gaping holes because the midfielders were there, over there, and over there. They weren't 3 together, so to speak. They were 3, but they were so wide apart of each other, from each other, that there was a disconnect there as well. For me, I will say that today we really do badly need Dominic Solanke. Now, it was an impact. It was an impact injury he picked up. And now, back in the olden days, when we got a knee in the back, because the goalkeepers were really good at doing that back in the day, and you used to suffer one of them every single game from the keeper. And back then, we take some painkillers or some anti-inflammatories to take the bruising out, and we'd be ready to play a game 3 days later. So I'm hoping that Solanke is fit to play today. But if he's not fit to play today, then you couldn't. I don't understand why Ange wouldn't give Dane Scarlett a run up front, because Dane Scarlett for me is more a natural 9 than Tell. Tell's getting beaten up on by everybody. Tell is a wide forward. Tell comes in from the left. It's his best position. Tell is not a centre forward, and Ange insists on using him as a centre forward.
But that's not his fault, though, Jose. He needed a
not.
centre forward, and that's what the club. Like, we could sit here and moan that Ange is using him as a striker, right? But the reality is, we needed a striker come the January transfer window, and that's what they brought in Matisse Tell. He's got no option but to use him.
I don't think he brought him in as a centre forward. I think that he brought him in to play on the wide left. I think that he was the reliance was that Solanke and Richarlison and Scarlett would be your 3 forwards. One of them would play from now until the end of the season. So whichever one's fit plays. But we've now lost 2 of them. And for me, the better number 9 or the more natural number 9 is Scarlett. If you're going to play Tell, play him on the left. Give him play him on the position that he needs to play at and give Scarlett a chance. I do not understand why Scarlett is not being given a chance, because Scarlett is more of a number 9 than any of the other front forwards that we've got. He's more of a 9 than Sonny. He's more of a 9 than Odebert, more than a 9 than Johnson, more than a 9 than Tell. So I really do hope that we play today with Solanke and that Solanke gets a chance. But then I would mix it and change it up front as well, because Sonny, Johnson, Tell just did not work at all on Thursday. They were like passing ships in the night, but I felt our midfield were like that as well, Dave. Defensively, you look on your defence because you build from the back, always has been the way. People are confident that you've got Vicario back in goal, so I think the team is confident with Vicario. I think the team have become confident with Danso playing at centre half. I think Danso has not put a foot wrong since he's been with us. and has played really well. And as for the fullbacks, we didn't see as much as what I would have wanted from our fullbacks on Thursday night, and I hope we see more. I mean, today I'm just hoping that we put in a performance that is deserving of the badge and deserving for the fans, and that's what I'm hoping that we do today. But what I will say is, from Thursday night, you need to make changes. You cannot go in with the same 11 from Thursday night, because it clearly did not work.
No, look, I'm sort of the same opinion today. For me, look, I think I don't want to see him rest players today. We'll get onto it in a while, but I don't want to see him rest players today. It didn't work against Man City. Plus, they had 8 days off. And then after the game, they're speaking about lack of cohesion, lack of playing time together and shit like that. It's like, well, if you're going to make changes when everyone's fit, what do you expect to a certain degree? In terms of, look, Matisse Tell, like I said, everyone could sit here and blame Postecoglou, and this is why I keep reiterating. And people think I'm making excuses for Postecoglou. I'm not. I've already said I've sort of given up on him Thursday night. It's now up to them to get me back behind them. But, putting everything on Postecoglou is absolutely madness. Sitting here and saying, oh, well, he keeps playing Tell. I mean, that's what they brought him in January. And this is one thing we have to realise. We needed a striker in January. We knew Solanke was injured. We knew Richarlison was injured. And I put the warning signs out there. I said, Mattel isn't a striker. He's not the guy you want to hang your hat on to kick us on and keep us in all competitions and stuff like that. But at the end of it, if that's what the club are going to bring in and that's what he's got to use, well, then he's going to use them. That is on the club, and I think there has to be a recognition of that, because what I don't want is when the new manager does come in, because it's only a matter of time, really. When the new manager does come in, again, people start making the same mistakes and putting everything on him. We have to realize, what is a club problem and what is a manager problem, so that we can give a manager a fair shake at Tottenham Hotspur. But with Rowan, he says, I'm tired of this Scarlett talk. Come on, Ange won't risk his job trying to experiment with a player not being a starter for championship games. Look, I understand what you're saying, but to be fair to Dane Scarlett, he came on in the Europa League when we needed a goal. He scored it when we needed to try and get out in the top 8. He came on against Ipswich. Matisse Tell was useless. He got the flick on for Kulusevski for his goal. So he has had an impact when he's come on. And to be quite frank, I think Matisse Tell has had less than 50 touches of the ball over the last 3 games. It's nowhere near good enough for your striker. And at the end of the day, I would argue Postecoglou is risking his career, keeping his faith in Matisse Tell up front when it's clearly not working to a certain degree. So for me, I do think if some of these senior players ain't doing it, there comes a point where you got to question their desire and their hunger, and you got to go with some of the younger players. At least they come with a point to prove, Rowan. But I do see your point. But for me, I think Postecoglou's risking his job by sticking with Matisse Tell up front, to be quite frank. I know it's what the club's brought him in, but I do think he needs to shirk that, play Matisse Tell off the right-hand side or something like that, and give someone else an opportunity up front. We'll head down to you, Donovan. Good morning, my man. Hopefully you're keeping well. I mean, in interviews after the game, both Son and Postecoglou mentioned issues like not performing, a lack of mentality, failing to get to grips with the game, and sloppy play. I want to know off you, and we'll go around the panel as well on this one. Who do you think is more to blame for this? The manager, who had 8 days to prepare the team, or the captain and the players for their poor execution? Do you think we will see a reaction to this well off the back of that, Donovan? Because for me, we can sit here and blame it all on Postecoglou, but it's also part of the captain's job within that dressing room to go around, make sure everyone's ready, make sure everyone's on it, give rousing speeches, hold people accountable, even on the pitch when things aren't going right. Turn around, bollock people if you need to. I never see that from him. So whose responsibility is this, Donovan?
Hey, good morning. Yeah, thanks for the tardiness. I bit late night here. Canada, it's a bit of a switch around. It's night just ended, morning just started, but my work ended and I'm hopping on here now. So good to share the screen with you, gentlemen. Yeah, no. So just like looking at that game in isolation, bitter game to take. I was joking with my friend, Italian friend, big Inter Milan fan, big Italian guy, and can you get a Puskás for an own goal? Can you get a Puskás award for an own goal? Like, I mean, that is just one hell of a, like, not only did he chip Vicario, but he got it over the defender on the line too. I don't know who was on the back of the line, but right exactly needed to be Spence, right? And Spence is no slouch. Spence tries, right? So what a weird series of events. And the fact that it was self-inflicted, that's the positive you got to take from it, right? Like, it's not like the fact that like we didn't try, like though that's the game of the season for that team. Like that's as big as, even if we were complacent, I would think they would have scored a couple more goals. But the fact that we weren't, and I mean, let's be real, Son is not going to do the same things he did in the Champions League, let alone in the Europa League, right? So my faith in Son has kind of sailed. So that's why we had the likes of Udebert and Johnson and Tal now, I guess. I don't know. We'll see what the Johnson window holds in the summer. But I have no problem that at the home stadium, the occasion will just be too much for them. It'll just be a good memory for them. And then all they'll have from it is just like the exchange jersey. You know, they have like a room in their house where they'll have everyone's jersey they exchange from famous players. And then they'll have the Tottenham jersey. And then that's all they'll have. We'll eventually have too much for them at the home stadium. But like I said, on my last build-up into the AZ game, it's really frustrating that now we have to go into this next AZ game with work to do, because that's something you don't want to do. But, I mean, if you want a trophy, you have to earn it. Nothing can be given for you. If you want a scalp, you have to go out there and earn it. Hey, good morning, Drew there. And yeah. So but today, a reaction, yeah, like I said, Liverpool game was a must-win game, and then obviously the Aston Villa game was a must-win game. Now this is a must-win game because I've heard it dubbed in the community, so I'm closer in London, as that this game doesn't matter, right? This game is a throw. This game doesn't matter, but we needed to restore the faith going into the next knockout game. The next game, AZ at home. Is it Thursday? It's Thursday.
Thursday.
So yeah. So let's build some momentum. Stop the rot, even though there is not any rot. It was a self-inflicted own goal. And let's rotate, as you were saying there. Let's keep the squad fresh. I don't think Son needs to start. I think Udebert can slide in there. I know we're going to talk about the lineups later on.
But Donovan, we talk about resting players and keeping them fresh. We've done that for the AZ Alkmaar game, and look at the performance they turned up with. And they had 8 days as well between the Man City game and the AZ Alkmaar game. So should we not be playing our best team? Because look, you know, we can't keep giving these excuses. You know, everyone can keep blaming Ange Postecoglou for the team turning up and demotivated. But then players have also been crying, moaning, and bitching about needing the rest. They got their rest. They turn up like that. And, you know, at what point do they also have to be held accountable? And that's what I'm saying. If we make changes again and rest them for Thursday night, are we in fear of seeing the exact same sort of shit?
No, because before I even put the home form into it, you have to look at it. You have to look at it as like more like take a step back and look at it from all angles. Like this is our first European knockout game round of football since Conte. When we played, it was at AC Milan there in the 2 legs there, home and away. And not only did we capitulate that season and just have a horrible squad, we overachieved the season before. That was the first knockout leg of football we had for a long period of time up until that point. I think it was the Poch era.
Yeah.
Rather than the Jose era, I should say. So it's like we're not even accustomed as a club to being in these conversations where it's like semifinals, quarterfinals, knockout football, and in European football. Plus, this is such a young squad, and I'm not giving them an excuse, but that's just the truth of the matter. Like Archie Gray and Bergvall, they came in to be backups, but now they're starting one of the biggest games of our club's recent history. So I find that just a bit. I don't want to give them an excuse because there always seems to be an excuse for why players can't go over the line in these games. But it is a 2-legged game, so I'm confident that they'll get the job over at home. And I keep hearing how people are saying how Ange, his contract kind of hinders on this game on Thursday. I don't think we should move his contract at all based on the fact that the World Cup is just next year and there's no managers. Everyone's kind of locked in place right now. It's kind of like ready, set, cement that's been kind of drying for the last like 5, 6, 7 months. And now everyone's kind of like polishing up, getting ready for the big show, finalizing contracts, figuring out where they're playing the club football for the next year, right? 200 days, getting ready for the World Cup. Same thing with managers. Not going to get a lot of movement. So I would, whatever regardless does happen, I would just hold out and ride it out to the World Cup, wait till the World Cup's over, and then the likes of the Pochettinos and the Nagelsmanns, the Julian Nagelsmanns come available. Even the England manager could come available, right? So, and Postecoglou is also employed till then, contract till then. So it just seems like it all makes sense. So, yeah, one step at a time.
Interesting. I'm sure a lot of people would disagree with holding out to the World Cup, but I do see your point. You know, if people want Poch back, maybe that is something that, you know, we might need to do, because if you bring in someone like Iriola, you know, next year after the World Cup, are you really going to sack him and bring in Pochettino? So maybe I understand your point on that one. Dermot, good morning. Thanks for getting out of bed. I do appreciate it. Just look,
I actually did send you a message. I was actually on my way back from the shops. I had to.
You're always on your way back from the shops when you're late. It can't be every week you're on your way back from the shop when we're late.
Well, I wasn't
anyway,
in
Dermot,
bed, so don't
let's
stop
move
putting
on. We
that
don't
rumor
care.
out.
Let's move on. We're here to talk about Tottenham. When it comes to Tottenham, my man, I mean, look, a lot of people, rightly so, a lot of the blame does have to go to Postecoglou. But how much blame has to go to Son as well on this, on what we're seeing this season and in general? Because at the end of the day, he is club captain. He's also responsible for holding standards, keeping these players motivated, just like Postecoglou is.
I have had listened to a lot what Jose had to say and what Donovan had to say. Big up to everyone. And I think the senior players have to take a hell of a lot of responsibility. The senior players, and the senior players for a reason. Sonny's the captain for a reason. It's easy to jump on the back of Archie Gray or Bergville or the younger players and tell they're only 18 or 19 years of age. So it's easy to jump on them. I think the senior players have to take a very big, have to take responsibility, and so does Ange as well. It was no good of a performance on Thursday. We weren't playing AC Milan. We weren't playing a big team in Europe. We weren't even playing a team in Europe that's probably third or fourth in the league. We're playing AZ Alkmaar, who are sixth in their league. We had 8 days rest. They've played 2 games in between that and playing us. They won like 13. I think they've won 13 out of the last 15 games. So they're in good form. And we just went up for it. The senior players went up for it. Sonny's not a captain. I'm sorry. Anyone thought Sonny's a captain? He's not a captain.
Well, it was 2 years ago when everybody was coming on my streams telling me that Son was a captain.
He's not a captain. And I don't think I even said that Denny wasn't a captain. I wanted somebody like Bentancur.
Yeah, you did.
Or somebody like Romero or somebody like that, who's a leader of men. We watched the game against Man City that Thursday. After 10 minutes, me and my mate Kev were doing the watch along, both said it ain't working. He needs to change it. And the only one that stood up was Bentancur. He was like running around, putting tackles in, putting his foot in. That's leading by example. You look at Roy Keane. He led by example. He put a tackle in. He said, right, this is what I want you to do. And it's easy to blame these young lads. It's easy to blame Bergville for scoring his own goal against on Thursday. But I was listening to other people. When he had the ball, we had nobody running off the pitch. We had nobody making runs.
Yeah.
Where was Sonny making them runs off the ball? Where was Madison making them runs off the ball? So him coming off the field and bitching and moaning, saying to Sonny it's the same play. Well, you dictate the play when you're on the pitch. And I think Ange has to take responsibility as well for not changing it quick enough. If you see something's not working, you look at all top managers. You look at Pep, you look at Alex Ferguson, you look at managers gone by that have been really successful. If something's not working, they would change it straight away. Even after 10 or 15 minutes, they would change it. Ange doesn't do that. Man City, we should not have rested the players. It's absolutely stupid to rest players when you've got an 8-day break. I mean, it was absolutely brain dead. And then Thursday, it was just a shit show. So I think the senior players have to take a hell of a lot of responsibility, and I think Ange does as well. But again, it's easy. Everyone's jumping on the back of Bergville. Everyone's jumping on the back of Archie Gray. Everyone's jumping on the back of Tell. It's not their fault. Tell's not a striker. Tell's a winger. If you look how he played at Bayern Munich, he played on the wing. He's a left and right winger. He's not a striker. You want a striker, you go out and buy a striker. But again, our recruitment office, our recruitment team are not good enough. So I think this blaming the young players, I think is unfair. I think senior players have to take responsibility. They don't. And again, they get away with it. Why? I don't know why. And I'm sorry, I think Son is not a captain, I said before, and I think he's past it. I think Son has lost the step this summer, this year. So you're going to have to start looking to the future, and you're going to have to start trusting the young players, start trusting Mikey Moore, start trusting the likes of the under 21s who will bust a gut for you. Please, anyone that tells me James Maddison will bust the gut for you, I'm sorry, he won't. He doesn't give a shit. None of them senior players care. And that's what really angers me.
And giving some of them younger players more games. Like, don't get me wrong, like, there has to be recognition. Postecoglou has played more young players than any other manager since Pochettino. And some might say that's due to being forced or whatever. Fair enough. But I do think at times where senior players has let Postecoglou down, I think he's too quick to show faith in them rather than continue with a youngster who has come in and made an impact in games like Mikey Moore and stuff like that. I think that's where he's probably let himself down a little bit, because that is how you create squad competition. Yeah, you might prefer a senior player, but if he's not performing, you take him out, you bring in a youngster. But look, I know everyone's going after Postecoglou, and rightly so. The manager's always going to take the blame. But make no mistake about it, these senior players within this squad also have to take large amounts of accountability for what's gone on the last 2 years. James Maddison and Son sitting on the bench behind the manager bitching about the tactics. Okay, well, last time I looked, he's the one on the sideline with a jacket and tracksuit on. You're the one with the Spurs football kit on. If you don't want to pass the ball sideways or backwards, fucking tell people where you want them to run, James Maddison. Demand they run and put the ball in behind. And this is my problem. You know, this happens in all dressing rooms. Players speak to each other. I've listened to an interview that Troy Parrott gave to Irish Spurs Fans TV. It was a long interview about his time at Tottenham and what he's done out in Holland since. And he said, look, we sit in the dressing, we talk about movement, what we want to do, stuff like that. Does that happen at Tottenham Hotspur? It doesn't look like it does when you look at it on the football pitch. Maddison can blame Postecoglou for passing it backwards and sideways all he wants. He's the one with the football at his feet. He can easily turn around to Son and say, Son, don't come towards me, go in behind. He could tell where he wants him to run. He could also say the same to Brennan Johnson. He doesn't do that. So to sit there then and blame it on the manager when you're on the sideline is not excusable. You don't fool me, James. Same with Son. Same thing. You were disinterested. A tackle came into you and you jumped out of the way. And it's not the first time I've seen that from you either, Son. So you also have to take a massive amount of responsibility for what's happened this year. At the end of the day, they're the ones on the football pitch with the ball at their feet that can make things happen, and they're not. So you can sit there and blame the manager all you want, but I also question your hunger and your desire. And at the end of the day, I also say to that team, don't you dare throw the manager under the bus and use the Europa League to do that either. Because then I question your hunger and your desire to go out and win trophies and stuff like that. At the end of the day, great teams, not everybody gets on. Not everyone likes each other. But real winners can go, do you know what? You're a prick, I'm a prick, but we'll put that aside. Let's go and achieve a common goal. That doesn't happen at Tottenham Hotspur. Everyone wants to play their own sides and have their own agendas, and I'm absolutely fed up with it. As much as managers needs to take responsibility, these players also need to take a large amount of responsibility, and I do think we've got to start demanding more and asking more of these players, because if not, this dressing room or the culture within inside the dressing room at Tottenham, the way it's been the last 4 or 5 years, will just carry on into the next generation as well. So for me, look, Son should never have been captain. I tried to highlight it 2 years ago. I also don't want to hear the fan base complain about it, because many people came onto my shows telling me how great Son was going to be as a captain and stuff like that. And what I certainly don't want to do is see fans bitch and moan and pin it on Postecoglou when it's what you wanted as well, to a large degree, Son being captain. Don't you dare change your mind and then say Postecoglou's wrong on that and blame him when it's what you were parroting before he even came to this football club. But anyway, let's keep it moving. Actually, I want to take a few comments here from the chat first. We have Spurs, Super Spurs TV. The midfield ain't any worse than what we had under Josie. He got to European football and a cup final with Winks, Celso and Skip being regular members. Really, Benny, Matters and Bergval worse? No, I don't think they are worse to a large degree. But what I do think is many Spurs fans have underestimated the impact that Harry Kane had on this football club. That's why they were all okay to, cash in on him and stuff like that. But I've always maintained a class player. You can have a shit players around them. A really class player will be that difference maker, go and win you games. And that's what Harry Kane brought to Tottenham Hotspur. Many people at the time said we're over-reliant on him. Now he's gone. We've got no one we can rely on. We can't rely on Son, can't rely on Matters, and stuff like that. So for me, I actually think it comes down to more of people underestimating the impact that Harry Kane had on this football club, to be quite frank with you, Spurs TV. And don't forget, Jose also had someone who could score regular goals for us up front. J Matt says, remember, we had similar abysmal results and performances with previous managers in Europe. And again, this is why I say you can't keep pinning absolutely everything on the manager. Sometimes the culture within the dressing room has to be looked at. Under Nuno, we lost to Vitesse Arnhem. Patros de Ferreira. Under Conte, we lost to NS Mora. Under Jose, we got knocked out by Zagreb. So you're absolutely spot on. There is a history of it at Tottenham Hotspur, and that's why, for me, there's some things that are culturally wrong inside the club that need to be fixed for a manager to have a chance at this football club. Blaine's telling everyone to run them lights up as well. Really appreciate it. Kay Rickson says the players need to look at themselves. Pathetic performance, no leaders, but Ange didn't want leaders. Ange tactics wrong. I will push back on saying Ange doesn't want leaders. I mean, Ange basically said months ago that he needs leaders and that he wants leaders before the January transfer window, and we didn't really sign any to a large degree. And I'm sorry, but no one could tell me Ange sat there and spoke about the want to win trophies this year and then said to the board, go and get me a load of kids and I'm going to make that happen for you. As much as people hate Ange Postecoglou and want him sacked, I get it. But let's not go into the realms of stupidity here where we're blaming him for absolutely everything. You're talking about a guy that's come in here with the ambitions to win trophies, and then the board is giving him kids to match that ambition, and we think that Ange Postecoglou wants all of that. And I know what he said in the press conference, that all players don't come in here without my know-how, but you're really sitting there, and let's be honest here, you're really telling me that he's gone to the board and said, get me Valise, go and get me Kim Min-hyuk and a couple of some of them other players. I'm going to win the league with them. I'm sorry, it's just not the case. To a large degree with that. And also, let's not sit here and pretend that Jose Mourinho asked for Ryan Sessegnon and Joe Rodon, that Conte's asked for some of the players that the club brought in. The reality is the club are bringing in the players, not the manager. And until we get a wide recognition of that, people are always going to keep blaming the managers for the absolute wrong thing. Super Spurs TV also says, you guys ever wonder when we need a rousing speech at halftime, does Ange grab players by the scruff, or does he grab a paper bag and go for a crap? Do you know what, Blaine, on this one, I'm a bit torn on this one, to be quite frank, because at times I've seen really poor first half performances, and it almost feels like they're waiting to get into the dressing room at halftime to either be rollicked or be told what to do. And then sometimes we see a massive change in the second half. But then you go to Thursday night, and you don't really see too much of a change and stuff like that. To be honest with you, I'm not quite so sure. Let's throw this over to Drew. Drew, how do you think? Look, we really don't know. This is just a guessing game. But how do you think Postecoglou is with these guys in and around the change room, especially say at halftime when things aren't going well, like Blaine is put in here?
I feel like we've seen enough. And this is probably not exactly a good thing, but I think we've seen enough changes in terms of performances from a first half to a second half that would lead me to believe that he sticks his foot up their arse, to be honest with you.
You think so, yeah?
I think so. I mean, I can't imagine with as angry and as disappointed and as despondent as he looks after a loss. I would imagine at half-time he does everything he can not to put himself in a position where he feels like that. So I just can't. I mean, big up, Blaine. I mean, love you to death. But I cannot believe he just goes for a crap. As funny as that is in my head, I can't believe it. I feel like he has to put his foot up. But just can I...
There is a possibility, just quickly though, before I let you go on off on that, Drew. There is a possibility that he is in there bollocking them and giving them instructions that the players ain't taking it on. Like, we've all played sports. We've all been in dressing rooms where you're maybe not having a manager. You don't believe in his tactics or what he's asking you to do. And it could be a case that he is trying to get into them, but some of them are just, do you know what? I just don't believe in it. I don't buy into it to a large degree. That can't be the case. And that's why sometimes you can see them come out and continue on in the same manager to a degree, Blaine. But look, even if that is the case, well, then it means... he ain't getting his message through to players then, you know what I mean? So,
well, there is an element of that. And there's also, I've been doing lots of research on transfer market with regards to the squad.
You do more research on this club than anyone I know.
So I just
he comes well prepared.
I just find it fascinating. I find it fascinating because I just, there are some times where I get it. I get the argument and I get where the issues lie. But there are some instances where I don't understand the logic, and I just wonder where people's patience is, right? So I'm looking at Vicario, and the amount of players or the amount of appearances he's had with players. Now, Destiny Udogie, he's played with 42 times, all right? But our back line last game consisted of Kevin Danzo, Jed Spence, Archie Gray, and Udogie, right? Udogie has had 42 appearances with Vicario. Archie Gray has had 8. Jed Spence has had 7. And Kevin Danzo has had 3. How cohesive of a defensive unit do people expect that unit to be when you consider that of the 60 appearances between them all, Udogie and Vicario have had 42 of those, and the rest of them have had 18.
It was only an own goal.
I just look at things like that, and I just can't help thinking that there's more to it than players just aren't playing, messages just aren't getting across. I mean, I look at Brennan Johnson, Premier League appearances. He's had more Premier League appearances with 4 Nottingham Forest players than he has with the most appearances he's had with a Spurs player, and that's Pedro Porro with 63. He played with Joe Worrell more times than he's played with anybody at Spurs.
Do you not agree, though, the fact that he's played with Porro for so long that he should have a better understanding with Pedro?
No, he should. But the bigger picture is there are still 4 players that play for Nottingham Forest that he's played more times with. Like, and he's a young kid who is still learning how to play football in the position that he's playing in. So, and that's just an example. Like, there are plenty of them. You go through the squad, and apart from Heung-min Son and Ben Davies, who have played like 187 Premier League appearances together, and then Son and Kulusevski, who have played 102 appearances together, once you start mixing and matching other players, we're getting into 20, 30, 40 appearances. And I just think that...
So you're going along the route that injuries haven't helped the cohesiveness, and that's
injuries have not helped. The fact that we shipped out and bought in 30 players, a completely new way of playing, like all of these things have combined to make it an absolute shit show of a season. But my issue is that if you give, like, what Andrew's got a 4-year contract, right, where the most coaches only last about 18 months. Now, we could do a dance for 18 months, all right, it's not been great. So the alternative is you sack Ange and you get somebody else in, bearing in mind that we've now all got to be patient again for another 18 months, because it's not all just going to work overnight.
The average tenure at most clubs is 18 months, but most clubs that don't win anything or are not, you're not in the realms of winning anything. Clubs that are in the realms of winning anything, some City, stability.
Oh, right.
Liverpool up until this season, stability. Arsenal, stability. So if we want to push up that way, which is where Spurs fans want to go, there does have to be an element of stability in the dugout. We can't keep going down this route. I remember saying to Jack, 2 years, when we had that season when we had 3 managers, Conte, Stellini, and Mason, I remember saying to Jack, relegation clubs are the ones that usually have 3 managers per season, not a team up the top of the table. And if we keep going down that route, we're going to end up down there, because every manager will come in with different style, different philosophy. They're going to keep losing the players. They're all going to keep wanting different signings, and your squad's going to be back in a mess again. Stability is where we need to go. But I do take the question, is Ange the right guy heading into next season with the amount of games we've lost this year? Look, I'm the eternal optimist, but 18 games is dragging on me, Drew. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah, no, I can't. I think it's a disgrace. It's awful. It's horrible. But like to your point, you got to have some sort of consistency and some sort of stability. And for me, like you've mentioned in the past, we bought in relegation fodder for this manager and expected him to work miracles. We were told that we were going to be fighting on all 4 fronts at the beginning of the season, and then he was left short in the transfer window. And not only was he left short, we also bought a couple of teenagers who, all right, I've got no problem with. I think Archie Gray and Bergvall are fantastic. But I think we're all in agreement that the guy was left short. So you've changed a lot of the playing squad. You've left them 2 men short. The players that you do have relegation fodder, or they're young, so they don't have 60 games in their legs, which I've been harping on about for the last few weeks. And yet you expect a push up the league. You expect runs in cups, and I don't know. I'm not suggesting when I say I don't know what we expect. I say that from the point of view of when was the last time the Tottenham board really set a manager up for success?
Yeah.
And the fact that Ange still gets up every morning, as prickly as I think he might be sometimes, the fact that he gets up every day, goes to that place, and still has a determination to win, regardless of all of that, and on top of that, a lot of fans on social media just thinking he is he's shit and he's worthless and he should be gone. I just think I don't know many other managers that would want to still put themselves in that position, take all that shit, and say, "Do you know what? I'm just going to get on with it because I have faith in myself." I just,
Let me ask you. Look, Tottenham have a history of sort of breaking managers down to a point where the managers almost end up being fed up and they're just waiting to be sacked.
Well, not just fed up, Dave. Not just fed up. Look at the things that Antonio Conte and Jose Mourinho have said about Tottenham since they left. And they've not said that about any of their other clubs.
And the thing is, 100%, and a lot of things that we're saying about Ange Postecoglou now is what Jose and Conte have told us, problems with the club. Same as Harry Kane when he walked away. But let me ask you, I looked at Postecoglou Thursday night, Drew, right? And I had to go and do some serious thinking after the game. And I'm looking at him on the sideline. I'm not really one that usually pulls a manager out for what he does on the sideline. Everyone has different ways of going about it. Some managers like to remain calm, to give off that aura to the team, and other managers like to get stuck into their players and keep them on their toes and stuff. And at the end of the day, players prefer different types of managements as well. But looking at him Thursday night, right, I'm looking at that team. It's a young enough team like we spoke about, going out there. When things aren't going right, I do think that's where you need to roll your sleeves up as a manager with a young squad and start communicating more with the team on the sideline. Then, he made one sub at halftime, but didn't make any more than 70 minutes, which sort of shows, to a degree, he's okay with what's going on up until 70 minutes. If you're angry and you're not okay, again, you double down after that sub after halftime and you make another two in around 55, 60 minutes. And it's sort of like, I'm sitting there trying to think now. And, in years, last season, and to a degree at some point earlier on in the season, we did have that bounce back ability that if we went 1-0 down, Postecoglou done it with Johnson a few times last year, was able to make changes, bring them off the bench, and we were able to go on and nick games. We've lost that now. And I also kind of in a hurry to change that off the sideline. I'm sort of questioning, has he maybe got to the point where he's just fed up and he also wants out? He's just waiting to be sacked.
I'm just going to jump in there. So I think it's like, it's also cup football too. Like you have to look at it like how you approach cup football is different than how you approach like knockout football is different than league football, right? Like you can't throw all your dice at on the table because everybody knows, and Postecoglou has probably learned at this point because he's not an idiot, right? Like he's been rung up by the media so many times and strung up as a villain that he knows that by this point that one straight pass diagonally to the opposing fullback is enough to open up his system time after time after time after time. So the more pressure he puts on, and he probably already realizes his young side is frail and fragile and will crumble away. And the second and the third goal will inevitably come if they push high. So realistically, only had to get through 3 more halves of football unscathed, go home with 1 goal away, hopefully at the minimum, and then reapproach and reassess the situation. Time will tell after today's game. I'm not saying today's game is like if make it or break it. If he loses, he's done. But knockout football is different. You don't approach it the same as league football, right? It just it's too risky, especially with our back line. And I think he knows it too, especially that Van de Ven's recovery pace and.
But in general, though, it's not one game isolated. What my point is, more times this season, we haven't had that impact off the bench to change games the way we did last year. And I'm just wondering, has Postecoglou got to a point where, he's asked for specific signings or, he knows what he needs and the board have come in and given him kids and, with all the press conference where he keeps having to face questions, he keeps taking the blame, everything else, everyone's on him. As a human being in that environment, there does come a point where you're also resigned to it. It's like, it doesn't matter what I do here, no one's having me or anything like that. And it's just sort of like, I'm also waiting just to get out of this hellhole, to a certain degree. And I just wonder, has maybe Postecoglou reached that point? Because as a human being, when you've got from the outside of the club, everyone's saying this, this, and this, and you're sitting there going, yeah, but the club haven't helped me. You know what I mean? But you can't really come out and say it until you're done with the club either. I just wonder, is there a part of Postecoglou where he also feels like, now, I just want out? Because I look at him on the sideline against AZ, and it's just like, he sort of allowed that performance for the full 90 minutes. You've given them 8 days rest. You've been working on things during the week. It's not being executed. And at some point, I think you can't just keep standing there like that looking on. I think at some point, you've got to roll your sleeves up and start tucking into these players. And there's different ways you can do it. You can bollock your senior players, and you can put an arm around Bergvall and just sort of give them simple instructions. And I just think when I look at Postecoglou Thursday night, I think he's lost all passion for the job.
I think
it's a one away goal. It's one own goal away. That's all I'm gonna say.
I know it's nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with one away goal. It's nothing to do with the game. I'm talking about Postecoglou and the way he's been. In recent weeks, he's getting more prickly with the press. He's not making impacts in terms of his substitution or changing things in games the way he once was. Nothing to do with being 1-0 down Thursday night. I get that, but in terms of Postecoglou, he looks to me as a guy that just also wants out. Let's not forget, Conte and Jose could only take so much of the shit before they left as well.
He's not going to want out in a European knockout stage football game, especially when he's, a serial winner. And this for him is his last. Like, he's a proud guy. He's an international manager. He's whenever he's went, he's come out brave enough to say he wins in the second season. So this is for him. This is a big game, right? Like, regardless of how much poker face he wants to put on it, for him professionally, this is a huge game for him. So whether it's just captain or a conductor looking back at his ship and hoping that it's running okay and seeing that the system's okay, and just hoping that he can get a lucky break, and not wanting to risk anything going into this Bournemouth game, because Bournemouth are a good side. Who knows? But I will concede that I've seen him bullock players, right? Like, I've seen him bullock players, and I think we all have, right? Yelling at players like, quit. Like, everyone knows the clip of like, quit passing it fucking backwards, like, go forward, right? Yelling and everything. So everybody knows it. So I guess the lack of that last night, against AZ, that's kind of frustrated people. But I don't know. I don't see it. Sorry, I cut you off.
No. That's absolutely fair. No. Yeah. Look, absolutely fair. And I think, you've sort of maintained that with me all season long, even through the tough times, that you still think, that he still wants to win and stuff like that. And I fully take it. It's just for me, like, when I sort of sat back Thursday night and I look at him, like, as a human being, putting yourself in that shoes, and you're getting one thing from outside the club, and internally you're not being helped the best you can. And I'm just sitting there, I'm like, that would absolutely mess
your head in it for sure, man. For sure.
Mess my head up, man.
Can I add something quickly on this, Dave? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Sorry.
No. Work away. Look, if you've got stuff to say, pile in. Wait till the other person's finished and pile in.
I'm long enough in the tooth. I think me and Jose are both long enough in the tooth. We've been watching Spurs this is next season be 45 years me supporting this club. So I've seen a lot of managers come. I've seen a lot of managers go. And look, I looked at Ange on Thursday, and he's looking like a man that I think he's given up. I do think he's given up. I think he's just waiting for the inevitable. I think we're all waiting for it to happen. It's like we're watching a slow death here. And we all know how this is going to happen at the end of the day. We all know Angie's going to get sacked, but it's just when it's going to happen. I think because we're still in Europe, I think that was a saving grace, but I don't even think that can be a saving grace anymore. That performance on Thursday from him as a manager was unacceptable. That performance for him against Manchester City was unacceptable. You do not rest players with 8 days break. You play your best team against a beatable Man City side. That Man City side is beatable. And if he keeps saying we want to go up the league, we want to make a good dent and getting up as high as we can in the league, then you play your best players. If you want to rest them, take them off that's 70 minutes then, or 75 minutes. But when you play teams like Man City, Man United, you play teams like that, you play your best players, and you played them at the start. We had 8 days between that and AZ Alkmaar. Who name me a decent manager who rests his best players knowing they got an 8-day gap? You could have said, right, we play you tonight, we give you 3 days off, and we get you back after 3 days or 2 days, and we get you training again. Nobody wanted Ange to work more than me. I know what he can do. I love Celtic. I'm a massive Celtic fan. You, me, both, Dave. We were both excited when Ange came.
Don't bring me into your analysis. Speak for yourself, Dharma. I can speak for myself. You speak for yourself.
But we knew what we were getting. Do you know what I mean? You and me both knew what Ange was about. A lot of fans didn't know who Ange was. Who's Ange? But we knew what we were getting. And I'm really disappointed it hasn't worked. But we're just waiting for the inevitable. We're just waiting for him to be sacked. It's like taking off a plaster really slowly. And it's just, I am this season, somebody mentioned AC Milan earlier. I don't know who it was, but I'm at that point where I was against AC Milan under Conte. When we left that stadium last night, I was done. And I'm at that stage now. 45 years, this is the worst I've seen. This is the worst I have seen in buying players, in how we're playing, how the manager is. Nobody gives a shit. And the other one who gives a shit is us fans. We're the only ones that care. You, Drew, Jose, Donovan, yourself, other Spurs YouTubers. We're the only ones that care. And it's hurt. And I'm hurting. I'm hurting. I'm angry we lost. You're angry we lost. Everyone's angry we lost. But do the players and the manager care? I don't think they do. I don't think there's that sort of care in the club. And that goes from the top right down to the bottom.
So I think it's like
just very quickly, Donovan, quickly, and then I'll finish off. Sorry. You look at Alex Ferguson and Harry run Manchester United from top to bottom. Everyone knew their job. Everyone cared. Everyone did what was suspected of them. You look at the players in the tunnel. They weren't shaking hands with the opposition. They were steely focused to go out to do a job for that manager to win that game of football. You look at Roy Keane. He wasn't hugging other players. He was telling the likes of Patrick Vieira, I see you when I'm out there. You have a go with one of my teammates, I'll see you on the pitch. Where's our captains doing this? Where's our leadership standing up for themselves, standing up for the young players, helping them through? Who was the only one that went round to Bergville when he scored that own goal? Vicario. Where was Sonny? Where was Madison? Too busy bitching on the sideline. Where was Ange? Hands in pockets, walking around like he didn't give a shit. He might as well have been a fucking man walking down the road kicking a can. I have had enough of this. This is my club they're ruining. This is my club. They are taking down the Swanee. And nobody gives a shit. Well, give the club to us fans then. Give it to you, me, Dave, Drew, Donovan, whoever. We show you what real passion is. We show you what it means to wear the Mighty Cockerel on our shirt. We'll show you what it means to be a Tottenham Hotspur fan. We want our club back. We have no desire. We have no passion. We have no nothing because nobody gives a shit. All they care about is when they get their next paycheck, and I'm sick of it, and I'm done with it.
And the thing is, look, we also have to take, a recognition that, since Pochettino, this is just routine for us Tottenham fans. And that is something inherent at the club that does need to change going forward. We can't keep being put in this position where we come into the season excited, hopeful, if maybe we can just do something, and then come the end of it, we're in absolutely destruction and chaos. This is nearly every season since Pochettino, and it can't keep going this way. Something has to change. But sorry, Donovan, I think you wanted to say something else there, and then I'll take this comment here from Brian Timlin, and we'll move on.
Sorry, no need to apologize, lads. One thing I'll say about concession about Ange there is that it's like everybody is like giving up if the squad is giving up or if Ange is giving up. I will admit that it's really frustrating to look online and see the wage bill and see that Basuma is on $70,000 a week. Like that is just crazy to me. That's just it's sickening the thought of that. But if anything, Ange's mentality wouldn't be like he gave up. If anything, it'd just be some like resigned, conceded defeat. Like, what do you expect me to do? Like inwardly, he would know that, like, yo, I've done everything I could. Like, they only gave me so many tools. Like I asked for a life raft and they threw me like water wings. Like what do you expect, right? Like I'm not gonna keep this afloat, man. Like this is crazy. Actually, that's funny. Yeah, General Waterworks. But yeah, so that's the only thing I can see. Like, I mean, that's all the managers do. Like if you really want to go back, like you could. Like I don't think the manager's the problem because I could still argue good for like Jose, Conte. You know, like I didn't really care about Nuno, but look, he's flying with Nottingham. So it's like they have to look at the common denominator here,
Agreed.
and that's Levy and Enoch, right? And it's really frustrating that once again we're at this crossroads. And maybe it's the fact that maybe Ange is just a character, maybe he's just a puppet, and like in many governments, like everybody knows the leader's not actually the leader, right? Like it's just like there's a problem beneath the surface, and so it's like I don't know, maybe just I'm so passionate defending Ange because I know what the real problem is, right? And it's like I'm not gonna sit and watch another career just like crumble and fall and go to another club and he'll be successful. Because everyone's seeing how exciting his football is when it works and he's backed, right? Because realistically, once we went on that 10-game winning streak and we got a couple injuries, that January we should have bought like a like-for-like replacement for pretty much Van de Ven right away. We should have realized this guy's hamstrings are not like there. You got to like have somebody that is rapid, someone quick. Crystal Palace ended up getting that guy, but no. Yeah.
I understand what you're saying there, and I agree with you. And this is something that I've been trying to get out. You know that. Look, I think there has to be maybe an exception that, not an exception, but a recognition that, look, Postecoglou's been here nearly 2 years. He looks beaten up. The players look drained. Everyone just looks like they want this season to end, right? And maybe it's come to a point where this project now is too damaged and you do have to move on, even though I agree with you. I don't think changing a manager is going to change things. Anyone that sits there and goes, another manager is going to get better out of this squad. I mean, I can guarantee you they've said the same about Jose when they wanted to sack him, the same about Nuno when they wanted to sack him, and the same about Conte when they wanted to sack him. And the reality is, ever since then, no manager's been able to come in and really kick this on and get too much better out of it. And we've even changed squads to a large degree as well. So for me, I don't buy into that narrative, and that's why I say I think it really is important this time, because many people want Iraola next, right? And if we want Iraola next, the last thing people want to do is be sitting there asking the same questions of him, you know, that we're doing with Postecoglou, Jose Mourinho, Conte, etc. You know, and that's what I'm trying to say. There has to be. I get people don't want Postecoglou here and they don't like him. Fine, and I think everyone's come to an exception that this is going to come to an end. But what we can't get into the realms of is blaming absolutely everything on him. We have to take stock of what our repeat patterns at this football club, aim them at the club so we can get improvement under the next manager going forward, so that when he does come under trouble, that there is a real recognition from fans. Look, we had a January transfer window. I think many fans sort of eased off going, yeah, he's exciting. Kinski's exciting. Danzo's done well. But the reality is, for what we need, where we were still in the FA Cup, League Cup semi-final coming up, still in Europe, and still had a chance to push on the league and get European spots in at the time. It's nowhere near a good enough transfer window. And these are things where fans need to go after a lot more to protect the manager, or at least try and get help for the manager. Because the reality is, we're going to come a point where everyone's individual, everyone likes their own manager, but we're going to bring in a manager that you're going to like. And fans are going to start doing this to him again. We're not fans. Look, we're rightly so. We've lost 18 games. We're right to ask the questions and all. But the reality is we can't keep letting managers walk out in these circumstances. So for me, I've been on about this since Jose Mourinho, can't keep making the same mistakes. We've got to take recognition of what is the club's fault so that we can actually help a manager pushing forward. Because at the minute, the manager comes out, he takes blame for everything. He's at the front of the press conferences and everyone puts everything on him. And there's so many people in the club hiding. And that when the next manager comes in, they're still in them positions and they'll go hiding yet again when the pressure comes on. And that sort of stuff we need to eradicate. And I do agree with you on that, Donovan. Brian Timlin says, I see the leadership group in this squad as Vicario, Kulu and Gray. That's just what I see on the pitch. Son, Madison and Romero, poor leaders in my view. Romero doesn't even speak English. And the thing is, I think at Tottenham, we sort of got sucked into, we have to make our best player captain. Reality is, when I was growing up, it wasn't always your best player captain. Yes, Roy Keane was captain of Man United, but they had David Beckham. They had much other better players, technically better players around them and stuff like that. But it all comes down to mentality and leadership. And for me, I think, you know, we went and gave Son the captaincy. Part of it as a PR stunt, put him the face of it, you know, we'll get a lot more revenue and all that sort of shit. But also partly because he's the best player. But for me, it's not about being the best player. It's about being the most vocal. It's about demanding better of people. That's the guy you need as your captain. And for me, Son just doesn't strike that. I think Gray, if we can hold on to him, that is in the future, I think, you know, is going to be an exceptional player. Bit quiet at the minute, but I do think maybe once you see him reach his 20s, you might start seeing him become a bit more vocal. Kulu, more of a leader by example. I don't really see him bollocking players on the pitch. So again, I'll be hesitant to give him captaincy. Vicario, I like Vicario. I like his mentality, but I'm also not a fan of goalkeeper being captain either, Brian. But I think in this scenario, with the rest of the players not really barking at each other out on the pitch, and Vicario's the only one that we see do it regularly, I think I'm going to have to just sort of put my feelings on that aside and recognize that maybe he probably is the better option going forward. But Drew and Jose, I want to give you your say on everything that we were talking about there. And then I'm going to give the greatest VPN in the business a plug. And then we're going to move on and talk about team selection today. So do you want to round it up?
I'll let Jose go. I haven't heard from him in a minute. Go on, Jose.
Right, so I've listened intently to what you've all said.
Thank you.
And Drew started it off by saying his impassioned speech about there's a load of different things and players not playing together and, you know, not being in the same sides and no cohesion and that. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to say, I've heard you all, but I believe, and I said this at the start of the season, I think our squad is just not good enough. I said that we were overhyping the squad that we had. And I think it's come to bear now. I mean, people say, yeah, but our squad shouldn't be 13th in the league. Maybe not, but should it be far higher than where it actually is? Because I just think that we're overrating our squad the way it stands at the moment. I mean, I talked earlier on my show this morning.
Do you know what I find funny just quickly there, Jose? You know, many people, like when we have the transfer windows, you know, people go, oh, people overhyping the signings, getting carried away, happy clapping. But then the same people that said that would be sitting there going, oh, we've a better squad than what people are saying, though. Do you know what I mean? And it's sort of like, you know, it's amazing how people conflict to suit their narrative.
I mean, I hear people say, right, and people, and you might, I don't care who disagrees with me. I hear people say to me that we should be far better with the squad that we've got than we are. I agree we should be. But so much far better, that I don't agree with. I then look at Nottingham Forest, and I just look at them and I think to myself, they got a striker who's banging in goals for fun. And then they play three behind him, which is Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, and Callum Hudson-Odoi. And I think to myself, are them three better than what we've got? Damn right they're better than what we've got. Callum Hudson-Odoi was signed by Nottingham Forest for £3 million. Think £3 million. Chelsea didn't want him. He went out on loan to Germany. Nobody wanted him. Forest took a punt, £3 million. Far better rounded player than any of the wingers that we've got. Anthony Elanga was going to get given more opportunity at Forest than at Man United. They signed him for £15 million. Great signing. The one they really put a lot of money into was Morgan Gibbs-White. They spent £42 million on him. Morgan Gibbs-White as a playmaker has completely outshone, in my opinion, James Maddison. Completely outshines him every game. I think you know, you can see he always wants the ball. He always makes things happen. Always makes things tick. I then look at their centre halves. Milenkovic ain't a surprise to anyone. We all knew about Milenkovic when he was at Lazio, you know, and they buy Milenkovic. They bought Milenkovic for something ridiculous like £12 million. They bought Murillo from Corinthians. Okay, Murillo was an unknown, but he's turned out to be a solid signing. Their fullbacks, they know what they're doing. So you've got Ola Aina, who they punted on a free, who used to be ex-Chelsea, and they brought in the boy from Liverpool, the Welsh international, who was actually playing international football at a very young age, Nico Williams. And I look at their team, and their team is not only well balanced, it's, to me, I look at their squad, and I think that they've got a better squad than Tottenham. So when people turn around and say, we should be better than this, that, no, I think that the balance in the squad for Forest is far better than the squad that we've got. I know that we were short in the summer. I, along with many other people, I've got my number. I said I felt we were 4 or 5 players short. That was just in the summer. Then in the winter transfer window, we went and bought Kinski Danso and Matthias Tell. We've bought 3 players in, but we were already 5 short. Then there's players that needed to be moved out of the club that couldn't have been moved out for obvious reasons in the winter. And I just think that our squad, I think that a lot of the fan base overhyped the squad that we've got. I don't think it's as good as what people make out it is, and I said that at the start of the season.
Fair.
Coupled with when you've got when you've got, and I'm not going to use excuses, although the truth of the matter is we have had horrendous injuries. When you start looking at the manager then has to pick a side with what he has. So it's like any of you to play cards. We deal the cards out, and that's the hand that you play with. You can't swap your hand. That's what you play with. That's what you've been dealt. So therefore, Ange then has to pick a team from the players that he's got. And sometimes I think to myself that he's too samey and not risky enough in some of the selections that he makes. Because there were some youngsters. I mean, we look at the abject performance on Thursday night. We don't know. I mean, I'm not on the training pitch and that. I think our coaching has got a lot to do with this as well. I just think that our coaches are not good enough, and there's a lot of problems behind the scene with the coaches. But you look at Ajayi when he played against Arsenal, came on. Ajayi is not your natural winger. Ajayi came on that 1-2 with Scarlett, driving at defenders, took his goal really well. We haven't seen Ajayi since. Oluwaseyi, who looked to put in a few decent performances off the subs bench, never got a look in after that. And I'm just thinking to myself, instead of playing these tried and tested, as a lot of people have said today, people are talking about the elder statesmen in the team, you know, your Bissoumas, your Sons. People are going to say that some of the senior players just haven't done it. Well, if they haven't done it, and you're a manager and you manage teams, I've managed teams. If someone ain't performing, you swap them out. You put someone else in. And I just don't think that Ange has done himself any favours by not making the changes and allowing the same people to perform in the same way and not giving chances to others. And like you said as well, Dave, earlier, you said that some of the youngsters, and I'm not going to turn around and say I don't know any more than you because you were watching them all last season, right? Some of these youngsters, they're just starting their careers out. They want to impress. They want to play for the badge. They want to play in the stadium. They want to play for the fans. They show more passion in their little finger than some of these players show in the whole entire body. So some of the blame has to go on Ange for not giving and not changing, you know, not rotating the team when players are letting you down week in, week out. And to me, it's just an absolute mishmash. And for me, it just needs to stop. We just need to. I think Ange, we've got to a stage now, bar the game in the Europa game on Thursday, we've got to a stage now. We know we ain't going to win the league. It's obvious. So start giving some people a chance. If people ain't doing it, keep them out the side. Put someone in that wants to play for the club. So there is an actual mixture around there of what Drew said earlier, Donovan has said, and what Dermot has said. But for me, I just think that the squad's been overhyped. And I don't believe, I said it at the start of the season, I didn't think that our squad was that great. And to me, I hate to be proven right. I will say it's not nice feeling at the moment, but I will say to people, I've been supporting this club for 52 years, and I have seen worse times than what we're going through at the moment, believe it or not. I've seen worse times. I've seen in fighting with the boards, people taking us down to nearly become bankrupt. I've seen some worse Tottenham sides. I could name players that you think to yourself, they wouldn't even get into the Swazi First Division League. So, you know, at the end of the day, it is what it is.
No, look, I sort of agree with what you're saying there to a certain degree. Look, I also was sitting there in the summer telling people this window ain't good enough. Same in the January transfer window. The problems that are going to come on the horizon, we're going to be very frustrated, you know, and stuff like that. Do I concede that maybe a manager could get a little bit better out of this squad than another manager? Yes, potentially. But to say it's going to be dramatically better, I don't agree. Like what I find a bit weird is, you know, most Spurs fans would go, we don't show ambition in the transfer window. But when they don't like a manager, we go, well, it's good enough squad. The next manager should get better out of it. And it's like, well, we either don't show ambition, we don't have good transfer windows, or the squad's good enough. Which one is it? And that's where I sort of lose my mind to a large degree. But Drew, we started with you, so we'll end this conversation with you. You know, you've heard us all have our take on it. I mean, do you want to finish us off? Anything you want to say, or will we move on?
I mean, I think it's pretty much all been covered. The only thing I will, just because my OCD gets weird. The Milenkovic at Forest is not Milenkovic Savic from Lazio.
No, it's the centre back from Fiorentina.
So
Yeah. No,
so
but,
I got the team wrong, but everyone knew
oh,
about
it's all
him.
good.
Everyone knew
Sorry.
about him.
Yeah, no, that just makes my, I had a twitch in my eye.
Sorry.
But other than that, everything else, I couldn't agree more, especially with their players, especially Hudson Odoi. I would have taken him in an absolute heartbeat. I'd take Morgan Gibbs-White and Elanga. Yeah, I mean, spot on with all of those. They're fantastic.
Well, look, we'll keep the conversation moving. So I'll take these two comments. I'm going to take a moment to plug NordVPN, and then we're going to kick on and talk about team selection. Too damn soulful says, fair enough, Dave. Not blaming everything on Ange, which I think is the right thing to do. At the moment, half our fan base blame nothing on Ange. Look, I sort of disagree, though, to a large degree. I think you look around most channels on YouTube, and that's just one snap size. I think most of them are done with Ange, to be quite frank with you. I think you look on social media right across Twitter, so other social medias, I think the majority of Spurs fans are done with Ange Postecoglou, to be quite frank, on that one. So I sort of disagree slightly. I think there was a point, at a certain point where no one would blame anything on him, but I think that's definitely been in past for sure. And then Lewis Tickle says this whole narrative that a manager won't get better results is false. Ange is like 60% of our issues at the minute. Well, I disagree. I mean, and I have evidence of evidence on my side. I sat here, I was around with Jose Mourinho. Many people coming saying to me in the comments as well, get rid of Jose, the next someone would get better out of this squad. Did it happen? No, Nuno came in. Things got worse. People said, sack Nuno, the next guy will get better out of this squad. To a degree, Conte kicked us on for one season. But the second season, we came back crashing back down to reality again. And then I heard the same thing underneath Antonio Conte. Get him gone. Someone else will do better with this. And here we are again in the same point. And this is what I keep saying. The definition of insanity is keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. At the end of the day, the narrative that, sack him, someone else is going to do better. It's been proven over the last 4 managers that has not been the case. So I get your argument. But again, I just feel like we're getting into the realms of everyone, people hate Ange, so absolutely everything is his fault. And it's sort of like, when I've heard this narrative being spun to me 4 times on the trot, there's only so long I go, well, you know what? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. To be honest with you. But look, I do want to take this moment in time, guys, because we have had the opportunity to bring you the very best in the VPN business, and that comes through the way of NordVPN. We have an exclusive deal with them, guys, with NordVPN, and you just head over to nordvpn.com/flatcap. Try it risk-free now with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And for anyone that doesn't know what a NordVPN is, basically it allows you to change your virtual location, bounce you to another country and be able to watch live sporting events that maybe are only in that country. Or if you're traveling, for instance, we all go to click into our things and then it comes up and says, oh, this isn't available in this location. Well, you use your NordVPN, bounce yourself back to where you're traveling from, and basically it opens up. You can sit there and watch what you want. So that's basically what a NordVPN is. And not only that, it comes with a lot of security. People that'll be worried about bank details and all that sort of stuff, which is a worry nowadays, especially since everything is more technical and online and all that sort of stuff. Well, NordVPN protect your private data like bank details, passwords, and online identity. Protection feature also protects you from viruses, malicious malware, and phishing sites as well. And not only that, guys, it's the fastest VPN in the world as well. No buffering, no lagging while streaming, and stops your ISP bandwidth from throttling up and down, which is actually what causes your lagging and buffering as well. Not only that, it helps protect you on public Wi-Fi, which I think is absolutely important if you're traveling, airports, trains, buses, etc. Absolutely brilliant. And guys, not only that, one NordVPN account can be used onto 10 devices. We've all got tablets, phones, laptops, etc. So, you can use your NordVPN for them devices as well, which is great because most VPNs only give you one per one device, which means you're paying out multiple times. NordVPN have got themselves ahead of that, and that's why they're best in the game. And lastly, but not least, premium cybersecurity for the price of a cup of coffee per month. I mean, for the price of a cup of coffee per month, for your peace of mind, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a great trade-off. Now, look, the deal that VPN are giving, Nord are giving, is a 2-year one, but there are different ones on the website as well that you can avail of that are cheaper for you. So if that sounds like your jazz, you simply just click on the website that is pinned in the chat or in the description below. It'll bring you straight there, and then you can read more about it, and also you can pick whatever one is best for you. So I want to say a massive thank you to NordVPN for the sponsorship between now and the end of the season, bringing the very best, and hopefully that will inspire Tottenham to bring out the very best as well. So thank you very much, NordVPN. We've got Faz Radfire in the house. We have to eliminate Silly Errors to have a chance. Absolutely spot on. But look, I've always maintained, and I've been on this since the summer. Look, I've always said, to have a good balanced squad, you should always have a couple of youngsters on the periphery pushing. But we've gone down the route of making a lot of our youngsters, guys that we are depending on week in, week out. And I warned in the summer with a lot of the signings that we were making, and people were telling me I was being negative, by the way, but I warned in the summer, with youngsters, you're going to see errors. You're going to, become frustrated to a large degree. You're going to see lack of execution at times. And that's not through a want of trying. That just happens when you're a youngster coming into a senior environment. And I think, there has been a large case of that this season for sure. Faz Radfire, that definitely leads to some frustrations, my man, but big yourself up. But look, guys, we are going to keep this moving. Yeah, Darmo, if you could bring the team up when it's out, that'd be absolutely brilliant. I think it'd be another 15 minutes before it's out. Let's move into team selection. I mean, I presume everyone will want to talk about Mickey van de Ven and Romero. I mean, look, we were all expecting them to play some part in the AZ Alkmaar game. I know Jack was screaming for an explanation after the game on why he didn't see them return. And it turns out that he didn't want to take the risk with them on the pitch. They trained on it the night before. It was a bit unsteady underneath the feet, and he didn't want to take the risk, which to a degree, look, I can understand. And at the end of the day, not having Van de Ven or Romero wasn't our problem against AZ Alkmaar. Our problem was in midfield and going forward. But guys, I suppose the question is, are we expecting them to come out here and start today? Because I said in my predicted lineup, and we'll start with you, Drew, that I think personally, I think he knows, and his job is on the line Thursday night. I think he's got no option but to bring both of them back in here today, because fans have shown enough patience on it now. They're all screaming for Romero, Van de Ven. And don't get me wrong, I know Danzo and Archie Gray have done very well, and to a degree, it's probably a bit harsh. But Donovan has spoke about this, and I spoke about this plenty of times as well. I do think there's a massive difference with Romero and Van de Ven in there, not only in terms of how we progress that ball out from the back. I think we do it a lot more fluid, a lot more consistently. But also, I've checked this out. You go back and look when they were our centre-backs compared to the changes we've had since. We're conceding triple the amount of shots on goals than what we were when they were our two centre-backs. So if you were Postecoglou today, Drew, what do you do? Because don't forget, they've also got the international call-ups. Both of them have been called up to their international teams. And if they go there without playing a minute for Tottenham, we are going to lose our mind.
I thought VDV hadn't been called up.
I thought I already did. No, maybe I'm wrong there. I don't think he has.
I know Romero has. To be honest with you, I mean, I feel like I know how much we all want to see them both come back in, but from a fairness and meritocracy point of view, I do think it would be a little harsh on Danzo. I get Archie. I mean, I guess saying that, Archie Gray has arguably played more games, but he's not technically a centre-back. So the reason that I would put Danzo ahead of him on that regard is just because that is Danzo's natural position. But I would be inclined to start Romero with Danzo next to him and introduce VDV in the second half. I think it would be a little unfair just to drop both of them, just to say, Danzo, thanks very much. You came in, you've done a great job, all things considered, but, these two are back now. I just don't think that sends a very good message. I understand the difference with Vicario when he turned around and said, Vic's my number one, and as soon as he's ready, he comes back in. But I think it's a little bit different with outfield players. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a Danzo Romero start. And as I say, bring VDV in. I personally think it would be a bit unfair, but I could also see him just say, bollocks, I need this. So he could start both of them. But, he's a little bit damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. If he does bring them both back, even after all this time, and either one of them pick up an injury, it's gonna be a fucking meltdown. So I can understand his caution. I can understand the caution.
Do you know what? I can actually agree to understand where you're coming from. Damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. Because when he done it against Chelsea, fans went absolutely ballistic.
Right.
But now fans are almost calling for it to happen. Even me, I'm almost sitting here calling for it to happen now. So I do sort of get what you mean with that. I mean, does anyone else want to come in and have to say on Romero and Van de Ven, or we move on into the midfield?
I would say. Go on.
No, go on, Jose. You came across me. Sorry, go ahead. Go on.
Well,
No, carry on. I'll go after Dan.
No, go on, Jose. Go on.
Well, I'm only used.
come on,
You both
guys.
can't be gentlemen.
Chivalry's dead. Come on.
Danso for me starts. It's who partners him. I would have thought that with the way with the order of merit of who's come back to train him first, I would have thought Romero would be risked before Van de Ven. I think Danso's earned his spot. Danso is aggressive, and that's what you need for him. You need your centre half to be aggressive, but also Danso's a ball carrier. Danso can carry that ball up the pitch as well. We've definitely stumbled, and I'm going to use the word stumble because if we fancied Danso, we would have bought him in 2 years ago. We've definitely stumbled on a 1,000,000% upgrade on Radu Dragusin by bringing Danso to the club. So for me, I would start Danso alongside Romero. The fullbacks, you'd like. I think I want to see Jed Spence there again as fullback.
Which side, though, Jose? Because you know what, I was doing my predicted lineup, and look, he's right-footed, and I've sort of sat there myself going, no, he's got to play a right back. But I sort of had a reflection the other night. All his best stuff has been off the left hand side. Going forward, it's been down the left. Defensively, it's been down the left. So are we at a point now where Jed Spence is actually considered a left back now? He is a left back. We have to go and get another right back.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'll leave it to Drew because Drew's the tactician and the person that does all his homework. But to me, on the eye test alone, it looks like that when we played Spence at right back, I don't see that other teams have had the position and have had the space that they find in behind Porro when Porro plays right back. So yes, you're quite right. As a playing wise, he's looked better on the left for us, but for a position of strength for us that we don't get found behind ourselves, I actually prefer him to play on the right because I don't think you're going to get behind a doggy. I don't think there's all the spaces behind a doggy, but there's always seems to be space behind Porro. So for that reason and that reason alone, I'll probably start him at right back, although he's better work's been on the left. The other thing is you could also throw in, if you wanted to, you could throw in Van de Ven at left back if he comes on and gets some minutes. You could play Van de Ven at left back. So at the end of the day, the one thing is changes need to be made. It sounds harsh to Archie Gray because Archie Gray has done absolutely immensely this season for Tottenham. It's funny because he played near enough every minute possible that was given to him at Leeds United last season. He comes to Tottenham and people say, well, he ain't going to get that many minutes. Or now he's been overplayed. He got more minutes than what you think he'd get. He was a first-team footballer before he came to Tottenham. I'd like to see, at some stage, Archie Gray play in the holding midfield role. I'd like to see that at some stage as well.
I think that is something you're going to see maybe come the tail end of the season when we get our players, across that back line all fit and available and ready. Just take a couple of comments here and we'll move on to Donovan and
Benton course suspended for Thursday.
Yeah, I've got to get onto that now in 1 second.
Archie Gray could get his chance Thursday in that position.
No, look, absolutely. J-Mac says, weirdly, Spence looks better on the left. Do you know what he does? I think going forward, I think the link-up shit with Son and Maddison down that side is something that I do like the look of. They can all interchange, move that ball quickly. So when that, and I think in recent games, against Man City, when we had that in the second half, it really sort of helped us. Against Ipswich, that was, I think Spence moved over there again in the second half, really helped us, and in the previous games before that. But I do think, does it come down to the instruction? Because the left back is not asked to do the inverted role the way the right back is. And I wonder, is that half our problem? Because when Spence has played at right back, like that goal against Ipswich came down that side. Him having to move from the middle, try and get out there to close it down. So I do wonder, is it, down to the instructions that he doesn't play his right back as good as he does left back? We've also got Martin Knightsbridge says, afternoon, Dave, and the panel. Just want to see a good team performance today. I'm sick of watching performance like Thursday night. Just show us they care and up for the fight. And that's the thing. Martin. We've seen too many performances like this, over the last 2 years. But I would argue, since Pochettino, under so many different managers, too used to seeing just lackluster performances, lack of fight. The soonest things go wrong, lack of belief in the game plan to execute it and stuff like that. Seen it too many times since Pochettino, Martin, and I think that, I speak for everyone. We just want to get back to them times under Pochettino. We were respected, we were revered, we played nice football, everyone wanted to be us. I just want to get back to them times, Martin. Big yourself up. And then Michael W. says Spencer's no chemistry with BJ when playing right back. He needs a better winger in front of him at right back. Look, do you know what? I do agree. I do think Brendan Johnson needs to work back harder. I think, that's one thing that he doesn't do too well whatsoever. But Son's not exactly the hardest working on the left-hand side either. Let's not forget that. I want to be fair. Son doesn't really work back too much the other side. And again, I just wonder, is that right-hand side so exposed because they are asked to come into the centre midfield and almost make an extra body there, and they're sort of covering the two positions rather than just that right channel? I wonder if the right back was asked just to sort out that right channel, would we be asking as much of Johnson defensively? Just a thought. And I'm not making excuses for Brendan Johnson, by the way. Everyone knows I have severe problems with that guy. But that's just a thought I have there. Donovan, are you there? Oh, I'll move this one. Oh, he is there. Donovan, with Rodrigo Bentancur suspended for the second leg of the Europa League tie, should Postecoglou consider dropping him from today's lineup to give others a chance to stake their claim for Thursday night's match? Or do you think we will see Bentancur come in and whoever he fancies being rested? Because I'm of the opinion, I think, whoever he fancies Thursday night should come in tonight.
Bentancur's suspended. I had no idea.
Yeah, he's accumulation of yellows.
Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking regardless, we needed, I was looking at the fringe players that needed to get rotated in. And the two that top the list are Odegaard and Bissouma, right? So, but now that Bentancur is out on Thursday, well, I mean, that just you could take a guess there. Pass it on to Dermo. What do you think, Dermo?
Okay. Just can I quickly on the centre backs, Dave? Then I will get on to Bentancur.
Yeah,
is that right?
Yeah.
Look, I don't care if Romero starts or not. I'm sick of the guy. I'm sick of him. I'm sick of his bullshit. I'm sick of his always putting Argentina first. So I don't give a shit if he starts or not. I'm done with him. I would love to see Van der Ven start today because I think he brings you more than Romero does. He's more calm in the ball. He brings the ball out. And I think him and Danson together will make a good partnership, actually, because they're very good. They're very similar, but they're on the same wavelength, if you know what I mean. And when it comes to a defense, you want calm defenders. You want people that are calm, collective, and are good with the ball. And that's what you need. So, look, I know not everyone's going to call me a clown probably for saying what I said about Romero, but I'm just sick of him always putting Argentina first and not second. He's been out all season.
I disagree, but you're definitely not a clown, Dermo. That's for sure. No, I don't want to see anyone call Dermo a clown. It's his opinion. And there's many people out there that I've seen have that opinion. So...
and look, it's about the time he puts Tottenham first, instead of Argentina. But look, hopefully he probably will start today with Danson, but I would first see Van der Ven ahead of him. On Bentancur, look, I think Archie Gray. I think Jose's right. Archie Gray, will start in that number 6 role, and I think you put Sarr and Madison or Sarr Kulu in the middle of that midfield. I think you've got to change it up. You can use the same midfield like you did against Alkmaar. It just didn't work. And, we are at home, so let's go attacking. We're at home. We've got the fans behind it. Let's go for it and making that attacking midfield. So you probably want to put Archie Gray, Kulu, and Bergville. I think Bergville's been absolutely sensational this season. And Philip Brady... Dave, he raved about him last season. I went, really, Philip? Are you really sure? By God, is he proving me wrong? And I think when you see that, when you see the future of our midfield, and you look at the likes of Bazuma, who needs to go in the summer as well, and you look at Bergville, Papa Sarr, and Kulu, as that midfield 3, and Bentancur in there probably as well, our midfield is not looking so bad. But one thing with Bentancur, he brings calmness to that midfield. He brings the bit of balance. He brings a little bit of calmness. Right, leave it to me, guys. Give me the ball. and let me start it all off. And I think Archie Gray can learn an awful lot of Bentancur. When you want him there, he will put his foot in when he needs to be. He will lead by example as well. I think he's a future captain, Bentancur, as well, by the way. And I've been saying that for a while now. But yeah, that's my thoughts on the midfield defense. I'm sorry if I offended anyone, but that's my thought. I'm just sick of hearing the Romero shite again. You know, Romero's just some sort of god. All he cares about is Argentina and Argentina only. If he wants to go to Real Madrid, let him go.
I'm going to say one thing to you, and we're going to move on. Don't make the same mistake you did with Harry Kane. Romero is that level. Romero is a very good player, and make no mistake about it, we're going to badly miss him if we let him move on. But look, that's your mistake to make. I'll be on the right side of history once again. But look, let's keep it moving. We've got Phil Coyce. He says, is anyone fed up with our midfield now? I would sell Bentancur and Basuma in the summer and bring in 2 upgrades on them. Look, I'm at the point where Basuma's got to go. I think 100%. I fully agree with you. I also think Postecoglou's lost a bit of faith in him to a large degree. Bentancur, look, the problem is with Bentancur, he's had some fantastic games, but since Drew maybe highlighted about him, you know, he does have off games. You know, he did have an off game against Ipswich. He had an off game the other night, you know, and I do take that into account. Look, I do think Bentancur, you know, hopefully next season and over the summer, if he can stay injury-free and hit the season running, I do think you are going to see a much more improved player. But I do think next season, his I would argue, you know, he hangs in the balance with Spurs fans. But at the end of the day, he's going to get a new contract. So it looks like they're going to keep him here. I will say this. And now, we brought up Papamata Sarr last week, and I was quite surprised to see a lot of people have a lot of criticisms. And look, I'm not going to, it's up to you. You know, everyone sees football differently and stuff. But I would argue, since he's come out of that midfield, I think it looks so much more open. Just my opinion on it. I do think Papamata Sarr sort of does all, and I've said this a long time about Papamata Sarr. He does all the leg work, all the dog work in there for a lot of them other players in and around that midfield, turns over a lot of ball, is very disruptive, and I don't think he gets enough credit in that regard. And at the end of the day, every great midfield has a player like that, and they always have done since football started all the way through to now. And for me, I think we really miss his legs in there. That's just my opinion, Phil Coyce. But guys, we lineups will be out in just one moment. We will bring them up. I just want to say, if you are enjoying today's show, you know, you could really help us out by smashing that like button. It's the thumbs up button underneath the video. Helps push us out in the algorithm, you know, helps get more people involved and interested and stuff like that. Also, if you've really enjoyed it and you do want to support the work we do, you can do that in various ways. Grabbing yourself a membership, gifting out other memberships, or sending in a super chat with a talking point for us to get our teeth stuck into. But look, anyone want to say that there for the last minute on the midfield before the lineups go out?
Yeah, I agree. With Sarr. I wrote him down as well. Is he back from his knock? Is he ready for selection? Is he ready for duty? Is he good?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I still don't really know on that one, to be honest, Donovan. I don't really have any more on that.
Okay, well, Ben, Bergvall's really taking the workload with. It's great either way. We have depth now, but I think Sarr is a good shout. For me, I have Matters, Sarr, Bentancur starting, and then up front, Son, Dom, and Johnson. But we'll see if Dom starts over Tell.
Please no Johnson. Please no Johnson today. What has he done to deserve to start today over the last 2 games? Go on, Jim. I know you're bowing your head there. Go on, take it away. Tell us what Johnson has done. You're on mute, by the way.
I mean, apart from the fact that he's a top scorer, I don't know. Maybe not a lot, I guess. Not a lot.
You know what? Right, I said in my pre-match build-up, I can understand if you're creating chances and you're not missing them, keeping Johnson on the pitch, right?
Right.
But when your problem is creating chances, would you concede that that's where he does need to be pulled off then?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. And to be honest with you, yeah, I think there are times when he works more. See, this is the thing. I think if we were prime Tottenham really putting it at teams at the moment, I think if the pressure, you know, if we could do something that resembled putting a team under pressure and constantly putting balls into the box, then I think he's. I don't necessarily know that he's good in. What am I trying to say? I think he makes more of an impact when we have to counter-attack teams, as opposed to being instrumental in a pressing team, if that makes, you know,
Okay.
I just don't think I don't think he's got the ability to be able to stand his man up and go past him for whatever reason. And his final ball, even when he does manage to get into those positions, is left wanting. I think he's better when we break and he is just on the end of something almost like instinctively. He's really like regardless of what you think of anything else, he does really, really well at finding space in and around the penalty box. And he does a really, really penalty spot. He does a great job of moving into like number 9 positions when the number 9's been dragged out or is like following a ball. Like if you watch his movement in the box, he's pretty good, which is why I don't really class him as a winger. He's almost like a second striker, or should really play, I think, off of the main striker in more of a 4-3-2-1. Like him being too far out wide doesn't really help anybody. So I don't know. I completely agree that he needs so much more work in his game. But you know, he's only going to get that if you play him.
Well, yeah, true, but when we're in times of need, it's hard to keep persisting with a player through, you know, to help progress. I do get what you're saying.
But how are we persisting with a guy that is our top scorer? I mean, you don't just persist with that. And given the situation that we're in, you would just, I don't know. I would say
I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. It's just, for me, it's just, you know, when he's not getting in on the end of things or we're not creating, he becomes a hell of a passenger. I do
agree. Yeah, too much of a passenger. He does need to influence more of the game, or he needs to just put himself about a bit more. I completely concede that. Absolutely.
Well, look, he does start today, so that'll definitely make Drew and Dermot and Jonathan. He wanted them to start today, so that'll make the 3 boys very, very happy. But look, the lineups are out. It is Vicario in goals, Pedro Porro at right back. Romero returns to captain the side today. Let me know how people feel about that one in the comment section below. Dermot's probably fuming. We've also got Danzo, who will come in at left-sided centre-back with Spence at left-back. Bentancur, Basuma and Papa Matasar in the midfield with Johnson off the right, Solanke through the middle, and Odegaard off the left-hand side. Now, question is, has Postecoglou made rotational changes, or has he dropped a few individuals he was very unhappy with midweek? Interesting to see, because you'd argue Son, Madison, you know, probably deserve to be dropped. You would argue, what's his name, Bergvall with the own goal, you know, didn't really have too much an influence on the game. You can make the case there. So interesting to see here. But on the bench, it is Kinski, Destiny Adogi, Mickey Van de Ven, Archie Gray, Lucas Bergvall, Madison, Tell, Son, and Scarlett. So Solanke is fit as well to come in through the middle with Tell drop to the bench. So guys, please get your thoughts on the lineup in the comment section below. We're going to run through the panel, get their thoughts, and we'll get their score predictions. And then we'll be back here for the watch-alongs, and hopefully it'll be us with the cherry on top today. We'll start from you, Dermo. We'll start from the bottom, work our way up. What's your thoughts on the lineup, my man, and give us your score prediction?
What the hell do I know? Well, that's why I'm not Tottenham manager. That's why I'm just a Spurs YouTuber that talks a load of shite. Little short Irish fella from Ireland. Romero starting with captain, so I hold my hands up, egg on face. There you go. And always loves to do that. I like it. I like the lineup. I think the only would change, I would have started Bergvall ahead of Basuma, but that's just me being preference. Look, very quickly on Brendan Johnson. I hope Drew can back me up in this. Being a player that's in there around the box, like a fox in the box, is a talent in itself. You're not.
You're a striker, Dermo.
No.
A poacher. A poacher is traditionally a striker, not a right winger.
No, hang on. There's many players that really don't do a lot, but just turn up at the right time in the right place.
Yeah, as a striker. Not a winger. That's what I'm trying to say. As a striker, Johnson plays on the right wing. If you think he's good enough to survive playing off the right wing as a poacher,
Dave, hang on. Let me finish. Let me finish. I know he needs to work on the other parts of his game. We can all agree on that. All I'm saying is, when he has played there and he has turned up in the right time, in the right place, there is a talent in that, but he has to improve on the rest of it. That's what I'm saying. I would have started Bergvall with Basuma, but with the rest of it, I think this is a team that can win. I think I'm going for a 3-0 win. Great to see Solanke back. Yeah, 3-0.
Nice.
It's great to see Solanke back up front. I think he brings you everything you want. He works very hard for the team.
Yeah.
He brings other players into it as well. I think Odegaard, great to see him get a bit more game time. I think he's a great talent. And once he gets going, people will be really pleased we got him. Bentancur in there, great. Spence, I think Spence now's become undroppable. I think Spence has really, for me, if you want a redemption, this is a man that's really player of the season for me. It's my player of the season, Jed Spence. He's proved everyone wrong, and he's come back. Look, Romero as captain. Look, maybe that might calm him down a bit. Look, I'm not Romero's biggest fan. I'm not going to go from that, but I can remember back when I was younger, a certain player called Diego Maradona, who was hot-headed like Romero. They gave him the captaincy. It calmed him down, and he became probably the best player in the world has ever seen. So I think that might help him. Just keep him a little bit more concentrated on the job at hand. Strong bench. I think this is a team that can win today and going for 3-0, and I think we will. And it's great that Ange had the balls to drop players that didn't perform on Thursday. So fair play to him. But it is a must-win game for him. He has to win today. He has to win today and win on Thursday. But yeah, 3-0 for me. And Brennan Johnson to get one of them at least. So I hope Drew can back me up on that. But yeah, big up, Dave. Thanks for having me on again, and apologies for being late this morning.
No, it's been a pleasure. You don't need to apologize, my man. Guys, you can check Dermotron over at THFC Till I Die. I will put his link in the chat here now in just a moment time. That's where you can check him out. Get across, smash that subscribe button. Donovan, a lot of fans are pointing out here in the chat that there's not a lot of creativity in this lineup. Is that a concern with you?
Well, Romero is a playmaker from the back. You know, it's gonna be nice to watch him do something crazy. How did he injure himself? He did like a Cruyff turn / like roulette, and then like in his own. Yeah, his own.
He probably went a slight tackle on the concrete wall, knowing him. We just don't know.
No, our creativity comes from Spence. So he's talking about he's gonna run from the very back and go through everyone. No, we have Bissouma and Odegaard. Odegaard's gonna be awesome, man. It's funny how I mentioned Odegaard and Bissouma as our rotated players, and they are. There you go. Well, no creativity. Well, your boy Johnson needs to step up then. Johnson, Dan. So I was really hoping to see Danso and Van de Ven, but Danso and Romero works as well.
That's a physical centre back partnership, right? Danso and Romero. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. It's also a yellow card, a couple of yellow cards.
Yeah,
we didn't have. I'm looking right now at the line bench. What the hell? Let's go 2-1 Spurs.
2-1. Absolutely love that. Panna's very, very come into this. Everyone's demoralised with Tottenham. We're leaving very, very confident. Absolutely love to see it. Jose, up to you, my man. I mean, again, what's your thoughts on the lineup? Look, some people questioning as well. Is son being dropped or has he been rested?
It's an interesting one because we saw that clip of two players demonising when they've been substituted on Thursday night, and both of them players are on the subs bench. So interesting. It's just interesting. It's for all the people out there who want conspiracy theories, there's one for them to crack on with. For me, I'm so happy Solanke is back. Solanke is obviously coming back from injury. Didn't get many minutes the other night. But Solanke for me is a heartbeat. The heartbeat of the press is Solanke, and I'm glad that Solanke's back. Hope Solanke picks up form and fitness as soon as possible, because boy, are we going to need it from now to the end of the season. In the midfield, it's interesting. Bissouma and Sarr, who have not played in a while. Now, whether that's because of form or whether they've not played in a while. So they're both absolutely as fresh as daisies, or should be, and they should be chomping. If you really want to play for the club and wear the jersey, they should be chomping at the bit to put in a performance today, because they've not been in the side. We discussed Jed Spence is actually playing, but he's playing at left back today. And Pedro Porro and Romero and Danso it's as hard as you can get at two centre halves. But equally, I think they've both got ball carrying skills as well from the centre half position. Bentancur obviously gets his game today. I can see Bentancur being substituted. I don't know, probably by the 60th minute, regardless of whether he gets a yellow card or not, because he's not going to be playing Thursday. So I can see some rotation already in the midfield. Johnson on the right, Johnson's one of his favoured players in that system. Solanke's always going to be the 9. It was because who's going to play on the left? I had a feeling it would have been Tell on the left, but Tell's not playing. It's Odebert. I saw the only game I've been to this season was Tottenham Everton when we beat them 4-0. And where I was sitting in the South Stand, I was sitting right in front of the line, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I got to see Odebert for 45 minutes because that was his first team appearance for us. And I saw him running at me, so I saw what he was like. He's tricky, both-footed, but what I want to see Odebert, he can be tricky and both-footed, but what I want to see from Odebert, and a bit more from Johnson as well, is I want them to, if they're gonna stay out wide, I want them to take their men on. I don't want to just see them out wide and come sideways passing back inside. I do want to see a bit of both. I want to see him cutting in, and I want to see him taking their men on. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping, and I do say hope because I've hoped for this for Johnson all season. Although we can't really slam Johnson because Johnson's game is getting in late in the box, and Johnson has scored a hatful of goals for us.
I will slam Johnson because he plays right wing, and I've seen other right wingers at Tottenham be able to do all aspects of the game. And I think, surviving off just scoring alone, don't get me wrong, it's a good trait, but you're not a striker. You're a winger. You have to bring creativity to the team. And to be fair, when Odebert has played this year, I do think he has been a lot more direct going at players than what Johnson has. And look, if Johnson started doing it, I would ease off on the guy. I just want him to make some effort to try and do it. That's all. Jack Lane says we don't have creativity anyway. The only player that actively puts himself between the lines, linking everything together, is Kulusevski. And to a degree, I actually largely agree with that, with Kulusevski coming out. Look, He's created our most chances from open play this season, 10 goals, 10 assists in 42 games taken out of the team. The amount of times he carries that ball, the amount of times he operates between the lines, and he has the physicality to do it as well. I think he's absolutely a huge miss. You're absolutely spot on there, Jack.
Sorry, can I also just say, Dave, the interesting thing about the two people that have been dropped, rested, however you want to look at it, is if they are given the opportunity to come on as subs, it would be interesting to see whether they put a shift in or not when they come on.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting, very telling. I would argue for their sake they did better. And then Rooty 2 is putting the Bournemouth line up here. So I'll leave that up on screen for a minute. What I will say is Cliver, he'll play in that number 10 role again today. It's looking like. So whoever's playing that CDM, it looks like it'd be Bentancur. He's got to be switched on with Cliver in there. He can't afford to get dispossessed. This guy's the most away goals outside Mo Salah in the Premier League. Tavernier is another very good crosser down that side. And Semenyo, well, we all know how much I like him. He's going to be a real problem. And then what we'll do is we're going to go up to Drew, get his thoughts on the lineup, get his score prediction. And then we're going to end off with some Dark Sun G comments. I have put Jose's and Dermot's link in the chat, so make sure you get over and check them out. Jose is LTEL, Cockerel, and Dermatron is THSE. Till I die, make sure you get over, smash the subscribe button on them. Up to you, Drew. What's your thoughts on the lineup? Do you share the concerns about the lack of creativity? Some people we don't create anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Right. A little bit. I think if you can get control, I think the idea is going to be, right, that you just want Basuma and Bentancur not really to do much ball carrying. They're probably going to, you would like to think they'll be destroying it and then putting the ball out. Is that a double
pivot in the midfield? Is that 2 number 6s rather than 2 number 8s?
I mean, I would like to see a double pivot and then win the ball back and get the ball out to the wings as fast as possible, because that's what you're supposed to do in this system, and then you pile on and overload. So I think I'm really surprised. Yeah, J Mac makes a point. I can't believe Evan Nilsson's back so soon, but that is what it is. He's still coming back to full fitness, so fingers crossed. Yeah. Not too much of an issue. You could argue that Maddison and Son being rotated is to keep them as fresh as possible for Thursday, maybe. Although there is an argument that you could have started them and given them 45, 60 minutes. But I don't know. It's quite interesting. I'm still going Bournemouth 4-1.
Bournemouth
I think-
4-1.
No,
I think-
I was waiting for some sort of. I was waiting for that. No, I'm going to go.
What?
I'm gonna
Hang
go,
on, Drew. Hang on. You said, hang on. Bournemouth 4-1. Get out of here.
I
Serious.
just did it for. I did it for a reaction.
Some people would say you're probably not too far off.
I know that's what scares me. But every time I go for a Spurs win, we end up losing. So I thought maybe if I play a little different this time, we might get the win. I can't do it though. I can't do it. 3-2 Spurs.
3-2 Spurs.
I didn't give my score, so I'm going to say I said on Friday, and I'm going to keep it. I'm going to keep it as 2-0 to Spurs. Can I just say Bournemouth have got Kepa in goal. Their right back is Lewis Cook.
Yeah, I brought it up already here.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, really too. I brought it up in
Sorry.
his comment.
Sorry.
But look, I do want to take Dark Sunji comments, and then we will have to end off. I know we're having great fun here today, but we do have to end off because I do have the watch along to get over to and kick off. 1 second, what's going on? There we go. Dark Sunji says, "Come on, you Spurs, happy to see Cutie return. Hope to see him score too." Do you know what? That's one thing I have missed is the likes of Cutie, Romero, Van de Ven flying in at the corner kicks, coming in. That is one thing we've missed. And look, with Romero coming back in as captain, coming straight in with a point to prove. I mean, last time he done that, he scored, and then he went like that to the Spurs fan base. Will we see that today? Let's wait and see. He also says really interesting to see Cutie and Danzo play together. Do you know what? I love Van de Ven. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Van de Ven. But, we've got two backyard bullies at centre back today. Let's see how they get on. I think it's something that excites me. Look, I get modern day footballers have to be good on the ball, but I do think first and foremost as a centre back, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to be a dog. And I think both of them have that in abundance. Who knows? We might be seeing a new partnership blossom, which then means could Van de Ven go out to left back? How exciting would that be? So all possibilities here for next season. Darkson G also says the battle between Dominic and Evan Lindstrom will be interesting. Well, look, like Drew pointed out, I think the both coming in, same level sort of fitness. I do hope that Dom Solanke, I know Jack's going to be very delighted to see Dom Solanke back. I think one thing we've missed with Matisse Tell is that he hasn't really gone after the press with any sort of conviction. It's sort of been half-hearted. I think Dom Solanke will go after it. And also having that physicality, someone that you can get the ball into, play off of. I think without Kulusevski, you badly need that in the forward line. We learned our lessons last year. You need a player that can play with his back to goal, hold up that ball, and Dominic Solanke will provide that. He also says Spence, Cutie, Danzo, the three stonewall of defence. Do you know what? Spence and actually that combination's gone. Actually, Spence, Madison, and Son. That left hand side is gone. It'd be interesting to see how he gets on with Wilson Udebur down that side. To be honest with you, that'd be very interesting. So I like Udebur. He's very direct as well. And he also says Huyson won't get any joy this time. Yeah, he scored from the set piece, didn't he? Radu Dragusin lost him, and he ended up going and scoring from the set piece, and they beat us 1-0 down at their place. Look, hopefully today's a different outcome. At the end of the day, we're all Spurs fans. We've all rocked up here, for today's game, despite, being pissed off and upset. So my hope is that, some of them players are also feeling it. Sometimes you can have a night where things don't work out, and it can look like that. You're disinterested. What I will say is I do hope the substitutions shake it up and we see a much better performance here. And hopefully get the win. But guys, that's it from us. I want to say a massive thank you to all of you guys at home tuning in. Over 500 people today. Really appreciate it. It means so much to us and everything we're trying to do here. Look, we're well aware that a lot of people are losing motivation for the season and stuff like that. So I do appreciate the fact you keep coming back for these conversations and stuff. Don't get me wrong. I know it's tough. So I really do appreciate it. So to all you guys at home, thank you very, very, very much. I also want to say these panels wouldn't be possible without the people that appear on them, giving up their family time. They could have sat there with the family, having breakfast this morning, or doing whatever they wanted, chilling out, going getting errands done, but they haven't. They've given up time to come here and talk about Tottenham Hotspur. So massive respect to Drew, getting up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m. to be here. Massive, massive respect, along with Donovan. Massive respect to Dermo. He's popping to the shop and being late, but we'll forgive him. He still gets back here on time. So massive respect for him. And also down to Jose as well for joining us today and wanting to be a part of today as well. Really appreciate it, guys. I think it's been a really good conversation around the house. And lastly, I want to say a massive thank you to the people who have gone the extra mile today. Wembley won. Blaine Devlin, really appreciate it, guys. Faz Radfar as well, and then Dark Song G as well. Really appreciate every single one of you. None of us have big weeks behind us telling us what to do or, basically giving us a week's wage or anything like that towards this. This is all done off our own back. Everything we pay for to make this happen is all off our own back. And by the way, it's all getting much more expensive. It's like the price of groceries now, up and up and up. It's getting more and more ridiculous. So it really is appreciated. Guys, run the likes up on our way out. Go and get a sandwich. Go and get a nice can of fizzy pop. We'll see you back here in 25 minutes time for the watch along. As always, come on, you Spurs.
Go on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.